And everybody. Firstly, let me wish each one of you and your family members, friends, and entire people you know or will know in future very happy and prosperous New Year. And it's very good that today we are starting with an excellent and outstanding subject, which is generally known to most of us, but not precisely. And I am also, really grateful that it is being delivered by my close friend in Ranade, whom one has known for a large number of years at different places. And I have been going through his writings because that keeps coming, and each one of them are masterpieces. So, in due course of time, I have also requested him to write for us, and hopefully he obliges us.
Yeah, it's already ready. We'll send one.
And so, to commence the proceeding, I'll request Prakhar to introduce the officer, and then I will thereafter request you to,
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, all. Our speaker today is Major General V.S. Ranade, retired, is an alumnus of National Defence Academy, Khadagpasala. He was commissioned in 1984 in the region of artillery. He commanded a field regiment, a sector of Assam Rifles in the eastern sector, and a mountain division in the northern sector. He had various commands and staff tenures in North and Northeast India and retired as IG operations in NSG. He has served as a United Nations military observer in Sierra Leone. He served as senior instructor in TSSC Wellington and in IMA Dehradun. He is a graduate of the Defence Service Staff College, having completed the Higher Command course and the Advanced Professional Program in Public Administration. He served as the director of the Army Institute of Management, Kolkata. He holds a MPhil in Defense and Management Studies and an MPhil in Public Administration certificate in content writing from Henry Harvard Institute. Over to you.
Alios.
Uh, Thank you, sir. Thank you. First of all, a very, very happy new year. And I was actually trying to reconfirm whether the lecture is on 1st of January or also not. But then knowing the DG, I said it will never go wrong. It will be on 1st of January. Thank you, sir, for inviting. And there was an offer of physical or online. I thought physical would be a better thing and talk and explain. Anyway, the topic is the creek, which I probably had written it as a blog, which of course then DG said, "Okay, why don't come and give a talk to us?" So that is the genesis of why we are meeting here today. Now, creek as such, you can see on the map, creek is primarily the Sir Creek as what we know today, but it was originally and called Banganga. We'll come to it. But why this contention which has come up? Now, this contention which has come up is the unresolved border issues which the parting Britishers have given us. Before we go into all these, the cartographic confusions and what Britishers have created for us, and we are still fighting it. There are two, three definitions which I felt are very important for us to know when we are talking of this term. Firstly is delimitation. Now, delimitation practically it's a political process. You decide, okay, this line is ours, this part is ours, this part is yours. You put it on a treaty or a treaties or text, whatever it is. It is a paper exercise in layman's language. Once that paper exercise finishes, you go on to delineation. So you got technical advantage, like technical expertise is there. You start plotting the boundaries on the charts, on the maps, identify how that text has been written in delimitation, how you are going to delineate the whole thing. Once that is over, so you've done it a political paper exercise, then you've done a map exercise, then you must do a ground exercise, that is demarcation. You actually go on ground and start putting water pillars, a fence. Now, all over the all boundaries which we are having across all 4 or 5 sides, barring the coastal side, there is no doubt on that. somewhere or other we have missed out on one of the steps. And that is exactly what is being we are faced. This is what the cartographic confusion. Now, when the Britishers were there, I'll just talk about this for a little bit, put a context and sort of a bedding in for when we reach the Surf Creek. Now, all these things started in 1816. They created, be mindful of the boundaries which I am trying to tell you. Treaty of Sagoli came, they delineated, demarcated, whatever they have to do of the Indo-Nepal border. That they had done it in 1816. However, again, Lipulekh and Limpideria, the issues of doubt because of a tri-junction there continues. We're still fighting that. 1893, they undivided India. They divided the Pashtun and Pathan regions in Afghanistan and undivided India to create a dual line. So that is what they did it in 1893. Then comes 1914. They tried to put a boundary onto our north side with China, Tibet, and us, the British India. Chinese did not ratify it nor they accepted it, saying Tibet is not a sovereign country, so we will not accept it. However, British India, the Britishers went ahead with it. That was the northern part and the central part. For the eastern part, there was a doubt between Tibet, South Tibet, and South Tibet, what that point of time was our NEFA, Northeast Frontier Agency, which now we call it as Arunachal Pradesh, is what they are calling as South Tibet. However, they drew McMahon line, that is in the eastern part. Again, the Chinese said, thank you very much, we are not interested, we are not going to accept it. However, they drew it. It was a watershed principle on the edges, the top of the mountains, Himalayas and whatever range goes. That was. Then comes the next border, very less known. It's called the Pemberton line. It started in 1837 and with a whole lot of modifications went right up till 1921. And what we know is India-Myanmar border. This is called Pemberton line. Pemberton was some secretary there who started drawing all these lines. So it is Nagaland and Manipur bordering Myanmar. That is called Pemberton line. So today we call it international border as far as India and Myanmar is concerned. The modifications came initially. It was basically in 1837 was Treaty of Yandabo, and then after some time they handed over the Kabao Valley to then Burma. Few more minor modifications to the lines was carried out, then settled it by 1921. And that is how it is. A word about this particular line, it was just a line on the map. They did do the demarcation, which is again a contentious issue with us and Myanmar. So demarcation was not done really, and it's an open porous border. Now, when this border was drawn, affinities, local affinities, villages, half village here, half village that side. So to create an ease of movement, something called FMR was created. That is a free move regime, which was nullified and cancelled last year after this confusion which took place in Manipur. Primarily just to ensure that the people can walk across the IB without any normal visa procedures. However, that was being taken, we were being taken, or security forces were taken for a ride because of the Indian insurgent groups were stationed within the first 16 kilometers. Now that's the FMR zone. Now FMR zone is free movement is available. So we can't do anything, nor Myanmar's government can do anything. So all the camps, if you look at it, you would observe they are within the first 16 kilometers. Actually, they get a immunity to move around and operate. Very smart act. That's how we used to. That is why FMR was cancelled. Further, that is a different topic. And finally, the mother of all the awards has a Radcliffe Award in 1947. Now it is a boundary demarcation between India and Pakistan. So they wanted to create a two-nation state. And the term of reference given was divide Hindu-Muslim areas. And that's what the state of Pakistan was coming up. Now, when you do it, when you have a country, you have borders on all sides. So you got to decide on the border on all sides. So they took it, whatever we have taken a decision is our arbitrary decision. We will only divide Hindu-Muslim areas. So the Radcliffe just drew the line between Hindu-Muslim areas and left other areas as accepted. That is where the confusion was. Northern, if this is the complete flow chart as far as the Radcliffe of orders goes, the northern line was few lines were created in north. Then the central sector, Treaty of Savali, India, Nepal, McMahon line, east, Pemberton line, India, Myanmar, peninsular India, not an issue. Rajasthan and western side, it was the Indo-Pakistan border, Hindu-Muslim. That is what he drew. East Pakistan, Bengal, Assam, that was what he did. So he just drew these two lines. Rest all he accepted it. It is like that, without solving that issue. Let's see the confusion. Look at the map. Johnson was the one gentleman who recommended the line, top line. Okay, anyway, that where Haji Langar is written, that is a black line, that is a Johnson line. It was given, but Chinese did not react. So they modified, and so one more gentleman came up into that, and they call it Ardag, Johnson Ardag line of 1897. Next comes the green line. Now, green line was a modification, another modification recommended by British India by McCartney and MacDonald. Now, the fantastic part was Chinese never reacted to it, never acknowledged this line. Had they done it, the top half of north, that green line would have been actually the Chinese, and lower half would have been us. Upsection area could have been sorted out had Chinese accepted it. They never accepted it, they never reacted. Blue line is the one where Chinese were setting pre-62, start of 62 operations. And the red line is what the end of 62 operations where we are sitting today. Now that line, all the more line that comes down, if you look at the insert map, it finishes, there are two small dots, that is the central sector. It ends up at Nepal, where the Treaty of Savali takes place. From there, it comes to Bhutan, Sikkim that time was a country, we annexed it later, and went right up till the rightmost edge, that is a tri-junction. There is India, China, Myanmar. The point is called Dichu. Incidentally, I have served in that place, Dichu. So that is McMahon. Now you see the northern line not accepted by Chinese. However, Britishers have drawn. This is how the confusion was. Now what has happened? We are sitting on a red line, and the rest is that now here, first three definitions, demarcation was not done. Delineation was not done in a correct manner. Nobody knew exactly how the line was going on to the ground. That is the confusion why Chinese have taken. Now, as if we were not enough with Johnson, Ardag, MacDonald, McCartney, McMahon, too many names and too many borders are coming up. We created our own confusion. We created our own lines of fire. Now, Radcliffe drew the line up till top of Banganga. Banganga was a 64-kilometer tidal estuary. He left it because it's a maritime boundary. Maritime demarcation delineation has got different rules than the land. So he left it at that. 1947, Op Gulmarg by Pakistan. 49, UN brokered ceasefire. And the line which reached was called ceasefire line. So we have got enough of Johnson's, McCartney, MacDonald. Now we have got a new line called ceasefire line. Now that ceasefire line continued till a map reference point called NJ9842. Till 71-72 Simla agreement, that was converted into line of control. in Simla Agreement. Now you see the confusion. How will the line go after 9842? Karachi Agreement was in 49. You read what is in red. Thence north to glacier. It was only in text. No maps, nothing on ground. And in Simla Agreement, it is written thence eastwards joining the glacier. Same line, same point, being defined in two different English words, and it's created enough confusion. It is not there on the ground. Nobody has demarcated it on the ground. And that is where area of Siachen that we occupied in 84. Beyond NJ 9842, it became AGPL, another new name, actual ground position line. And then as of 84, we moved into glacier, that is of Meghdut. Now, this is all the confusion in the northern part. Let's come to the subject proper. Now, if you look at map, you'll understand. You see, ahead of Jammu, the blue line starts. Now, that was initially the CFL converted to LC till the blue dots finished. That is NJ9842. From there, it's up to your geographic knowledge whether you want to run northwards or extrapolate it to east. But that gray area is what called Siachen. The top of the gray is Shaksgam Valley, which was handed over immediately after 62 to China, primarily for making the Karakoram highway. So that if Indians are going to be sitting next close, they don't want anybody dominating the Karakoram highway. And of course, Aksai Chin, we have already know the confusion on this side. Too many lines coming in. We are sitting at the red. Now, we have had all the Johnsons and Ardagh McCartney range. We have these lines of fire. Pakistan created one more confusion. They gave one more boundary line. Anyone? Working boundary. They created one more line, working boundary. Now, where does the working boundary start? If you look at the map, just south of Jammu, there is a IB line which is in black dotted. That is a working boundary. Of course, we don't agree to it. We say it is an IB. They say it's a working boundary. That's okay, just a name given after the 72 ops. Not much is there on that. That is what the confusion. Now if you look at the blue dotted line, that is where the Radcliffe line drew and left it at the top, where the green line starts. So it's a tidal estuary in the run of Kutch. It was originally called Banganga, named as Sir Creek, later by the Britishers. Now, maritime demarcation or delineation, when you put it on the ground, in the paper, it is slightly different. How that different is? Now it is decided by something called Thalweg principle. The Thalweg principle is when you divide a water body, the boundary runs in the deepest navigational channel of that water body. Now the contention is, we say we go by Thalweg principle. So primarily the deepest navigation point would be, generally speaking, the center of the water body. It may not be, depends on how the that creek bed or sea bed or a river bed is, but generally speaking, by far and large, it will be the center line. Pakistan is looking at the eastern part where the green line is drawn, that is the eastern bank. That is what Pakistan says, that is our claim line. But our claim line is the center. That is exactly what the confusion is. Now they said we were not, it was international tribunal had settled it in 68. Pakistan said, no, we are not going to accept that. First, resolve the core boundary issue. That is all those lines which we saw, the CFLs, AGPL. Then we will come to this and we will resolve this issue. So they don't accept the international tribunals and the sea laws of conventions we've accepted. But they are saying no. So they are keeping the dispute alive. Now, Thalweg principle, that's what I was thinking. What is the deepest, deepest navigable path? Now, they say that it is not a, it is a estuary and it doesn't have it's non-navigable. So they're saying that this Thalweg principle cannot be applied here because it is a non-navigable water channel. However, the data which is available, the marine data which is available, it is a navigable channel where fishermen and naval boats, the ICG, Coast Guard, the VSF boats, they apply rather, but the dispute still continues. Why this confusion started? It was way back in 1900s, beginning 1900s, where the governor of Kutch and the governor of Sindh, they had an issue of collection of firewood. So that issue was referred to Bombay court, and Bombay gave a resolution which is famously called Bombay Resolution, and that Bombay Resolution decided that this is how that Sir Creek will come in, because Sir Creek area was the issue bone of contention for collection of the firewood, fishing rights between the two governors, Kutch and Sindh, when everybody was with us, with British India. So it was just two local provinces fighting. Now, if you look at the complete text of the verdict which is given, paragraph 9 says boundary must be east. They've given it to Sindh. But next paragraph says, since it's a navigable channel, it should follow the Thalweg principle. So the boundary shifts to the center of the creek. And they left it at that. Again, the dispute continues. Even if the Bombay is given it, although the international sea laws which ruled in favor of us being a navigable channel and Thalweg principle, so it center, Pakistan doesn't agree. They go by this 1908 Bombay resolution and the land borders issues to be sorted out. So these are the two contentions which they keep saying, and then they keep, okay, we will not accept the verdict given by the. Why it is so important? Why are we so gaga about Sir Creek being with us or something? Now, if you look at the map, Sir Creek, I think that place is very small, called KT Bandar. Now, KT Bandar is a non-uses or wayside port, 120 kilometers from the Sir Creek. Now, why this got highlighted last year was when Chinese, I'm sure you are aware of it, the Chinese are making a CPEC there. Now, they had initially not included KT Bandar being an unused port because of lack of fresh water facilities, infrastructure, nothing was there. At last, about a year and a half back, they've said we will include KT Bandar into our CPEC project. That assumes a different proportions, security concerns with Chinese sitting just about 100 kilometers from your landmass. Now, if you visualize in your mind, it is not there on the map, but Karachi being the major port, if you continue westwards, you will find Pasli coming to Gwadar. The complete Makran coast is getting militarized now. CPEC is coming in. Gwadar is already being developed. Karachi is a main port. KT Bandar is also part of CPEC. And post-op Sindoor, there was a tie-up between US and Pakistan on minerals. And that is where KT Bandar comes into play. where that area is rich in those minerals which US is looking at. End result, you find Chinese, you find US sitting next door to you. Our two interests are on both sides of this coast. One side is Sir Creek, which is, if you look at the Gujarat, you will have the Bhuj, you will have Mundra, you will have Jamnagar, major oil refineries there, plus Air Force assets are there, land assets, of course, are there. It is this side. What is the other side of the border? Is the Chabhar port, where we are operating the Chabhar port, primarily land route to Afghanistan and the Central Asian republics. That, of course, went into sanctions, and we have now just secured 6 months waiver, that waiver for operations. No, but you got to understand the issues of these two, plus why Sir Creek suddenly has assumed the importance. And the 2008 Mumbai attack, there have been a lot of movement in this Sir Creek of the non-state actors. These people use this to get inside. Now that's an it's demarcated boundary, but not doesn't have fence or doesn't have any areas, except that BSF, ICG definitely patrols the areas. So it assumes a lot of importance as far as the non-state actors, infiltration and smuggling is concerned. So, and because of this KT Bandar coming into the sideline, it was also highlighted by the defense minister in the recently concluded Ransamvad, where he mentioned about Sir Creek. So this is as far as the security part of concerned. Economic stakes, they are fertile fishing grounds. This fishing grounds for both the sides. It has got untapped oil and gas. We can't do anything unless until the issue is resolved. So that is an untapped thing which is sitting there. It has also got a direct bearing on the EZ and the seabed. Once the boundary is confirmed, delineated, demarcated, and accepted by both sides, the size and the markers as far as the EZ is concerned is then fixed. But now in that area, it's all ambiguous. And finally, it is sitting on the major shipping lanes coming into. We have got a major ports like Mundra is there. We have got Jamnagar, where oil flow comes to Jamnagar. So that is an important area as far as our shipping lines or our cargo movement or shipping lanes. That is why this is has got a major stake. Security wise, if you look at just like that Nalia, Bhuj, Mundra, and this is the upper part of the if you look at the map of Gujarat, there are two such geographical land masses which are pretty known. This is the northern one, the southern one. The southern one you will find Jamnagar also. So Jamnagar refinery is in the southern one. There's a I think Gulf of Cambay or something just south of that is the Jamnagar refinery. So that this area becomes very, very important. And definitely if you find KT Bandar and Karachi, you will find major naval assets being placed there. They have a watch on us. They keep watching on us. So we would definitely not, we'll be uncomfortable to have so many people next door. Border Security Force has got floating BOPs there. They have regular patrols, floating ports, amphibious vehicles are being employed by BSF. ICG comes in, and Indian Navy. Now, Indian Navy has carried out a creek bed survey 5-6 years back. Incidentally, one of that the same survey ship was also my son-in-law was on that same survey ship. So last part of that information comes from him directly. And we have carried out survey there. So we have the seabed survey of creek. So Basically, some is ICG, Navy, BSF, the naval wing of the BSF. We have our eyes and assets and infrastructure there. Deployment advanced assets are being kept there. You find listening, you find, I'm sure BSF would definitely be using now drones. Drones is an in thing today. There are joint operations, joint patrolling by all the three services which are operating there. It just gives us an importance how important that part is, even if it is just 60 kilometers, small tidal estuary. But yes, like that last part, uh, Indian Defense Minister Rajnath Singh has actually given a warning during Ransamvad. There would be certain actions in case they try out something, because a lot of movement is seen and uh, done by the Pakistanis on that side, primarily to establish their foothold. Something similar what they did in Siachen. As to how Siachen was triggered, just take 1 minute. It was the mountaineering expedition, the German mountaineering expedition, which was given permission by the Pakistanis, and they went and published they took out a movie, something like National Geographic. So that is where our Indian mountaineer, the commandant of the High Altitude Warfare School at Gulmarg, he got to hold of it. He said, if they are giving permission, tomorrow they will lay claim on that area. So we must also launch. So they also launched a mountaineering expedition. He gave them report, and that's exactly how 84 went in Siachen and he took over. So that's something like that. These guys are planning here, showing movement so that tomorrow the world will show you, okay, the movement is, and the area is being manned, monitored by Pakistanis. So the area belongs to us. I think battle of narratives. No, that's the flavor of the month. That is what is they have been planned. That is all I have.